What's up, guys? This is QRim from the Trinity of Lift, and today I bring all of you guys an updated version of my Chaos Dragon deck. So, a lot of you guys actually gave a great amount of good input from my last Chaos Dragon deck profile, and you guys did point out quite a few, I guess you could say, problems in the deck. So, I actually started playing the deck a lot more too at my locals, and I also did run into some of the problems you guys did highlight, as well as find a few problems that I wanted to address myself. So, I decided to go back into this list, update it a little bit, and bring it all to you guys. As you'll see, there is quite a few changes, I guess you could say. It's not drastic by any means, but there are some pretty notable ones, including this guy right here, because I finally did get one. So, let's jump right into the deck profile so you guys can see these brand new changes. Alright, so first up, we got the 3 Light Pulsar Dragon. Frankly, you have to run Light Pulsar at 3 because he's just so good in this deck. He just does a lot of stuff for it that really can help the deck run. Firstly, he is another Chaos Monster, so you can special summon him from your hand by banishing a light or a light and a dark monster. Excuse me, I cannot speak right now. So you can do that. And if Light Pulsar is in your grave, you can also pitch a light and a dark monster from your hand now to special summon him from your grave. And if that wasn't good enough already, if he is sent from the field to the graveyard, you can also special summon 1 level 5 or higher dark dragon monster from your grave. So he helps you fuel your grave. He is a beat stick that is easily summonable from your hand, as well as he semi-floats, I guess you could say. So he's just really good in that aspect. Another good thing about him is that he's also level 6, which really helps us get into our rank 6 plays. And he's also commonly used as a synchro material also. So, you just really want to have the 3 Light Pulsars because of how much utility he has in this deck. Moving on, we have the 1 Dark Flare Dragon. I only have the 1 Dark Flare because really all it is a Light Pulsar target. However, there are random times when you might want to actually use Dark Flare's effect to banish a monster from either player's grave, because banishing our opponent's Dantes or Necrons of Trichulas from their grave really helps slow them down, as they cannot float it back in any way. So we do have the 1 Dark Flare for that, although you really don't need more than 1, because although it is another Chaos Monster, it really doesn't serve a real big purpose, I guess you could say, so I did cut it back a little. Moving on, we have the 2 White Dragon Wyverburster, and we have the 2 Black Dragon Collapse Serpent. I still like this ratio of 2 and 2 because there are floaters of the deck. They're level 4s, so they can help us get into our rank 4 plays. Also, they also get us into our bigger synchro plays. So, just having these guys really can help us with our staying power, as they do float into each other if we do use them for a synchro material. So, just having that staying power is really nice, and it really helps us get into our extra deck, which is where a lot of our power plays are residing. So we have that ratio of 2 and 2 of the baby dragons. Finally, for the last Chaos Dragon aspect of this deck, we do have the 1 Eclipse Wyvern, the 1 Dark Arm Dragon, and the 1 Red Eyes Darkness Metal Dragon. We have Eclipse, obviously, to search out our Dark Armed or our Red Eyes. We have Dark Arm in here because Dark Arm is runnable in this deck, and he's a pretty darn good boss monster. And finally, we have the Red Eyes because this is a Dragon deck, so we have to have the Red Eyes basically in almost every Dragon deck because he's just that good in all of them. Okay, so then finally moving to the final few Chaos Monsters for our Chaos Dragon deck, we have the 1 Blackluster Soldier and the 2 Chaos Sorcerers. Any Chaos deck that revolves around this kind of playstyle should maximize on the original Chaos Boss Monsters because they're just that good. Having the ability to banish our opponent's monsters is always a great effect, and it really can help get over problematic stuff like maybe like a Necrons of Decisive Armor, or a Dante, or some other kind of problem monster. So we have these guys. Moving on to the supporting engines of this deck, we do play the 3 Lila, Lightsworn Sorceress. She is our back row removal in the deck, as well as she can help us fuel our grave with that 3-card mill every end phase. Another notable thing is that she is a level 4, so it can help. She can also still help us get into our rank 4 plays, as well as our bigger synchros. Accompanying Lila, we do have 3 Raiden, Hand of the Lightsworn. Raiden is really good because he helps us get a mill during our turn, because he has an activation effect as well as an end phase milling effect. So having those 2 mills can really help us fuel our grave because he essentially is a 4-card mill. But like I said, having the Raiden being able to mill during our turn allows us to still use our cards that we milled during the turn because we don't have to wait to the end phase. Also, he's a level 4 tuner, so he can help us go into our big synchros pretty easy. And he's also still a level 4. So that is it for our mini Lightsworn engine. Moving on to a different engine now. We have the 3 tour guide of the Underworld and the 1 Skarm Melibrank of the Burning Abyss. We obviously have the Skarm to search out the second tour guide after we have summoned the first one. And we have the 3 tour guides just so we can have our rank 3 plays open. I will say that tour guide is a pretty big power play in the deck because the 2 options that I have in my extra deck, as you guys will see later, really synergize well with the deck, and I'll get into a little bit more when I get to them. But just this engine is really good because it can help us fuel our grave with dark monsters as well as whatever we might mill with our Dante, as well as it will always keep getting us a relevant normal summon because usually the very first tour guide you'll summon will be pulling a Skarm, so the Skarm can search the second tour guide. And then when you have the second tour guide, you'll usually be able to summon the third and final tour guide. So just keep that in mind. Also, another thing that I wanted to touch upon is that I remember in my old list, I did run a fairly sizable Burning Abyss engine, I guess you could say. And within more playtime with this deck, I found that that big Burning Abyss engine is a bit excessive because your power plays, although there is very powerful rank 3s that work in this deck, you don't want to constantly have that access, I guess you could say, because they're not always the most optimal thing to go into. So I did cut it down for some other cards within this deck, as you'll see later. Moving on to some tuners now, we have the 2 Plague Spreader Zombie, because Plague Spreader is really good in this deck. Having the easy access level 2 tuner is always nice because we can either draw into him or mill him. Either or is always good because we can still abuse his level 2 tuning to make us go into some pretty exclusive synchros as well as our big synchros. Next up, we have some more milling power in the form of 2 Card Trooper. Card Trooper is obviously here for that milling. He's kind of like Raiden because he does get us a mill before our end phase, so we can actually utilize the resources that it does mill. As well, it's also pretty helpful that it gives us a free draw whenever he is destroyed, because there are Chaos Dragons, I guess you could say, won't really like get huge pluses, and the way the deck plays is how you have to commit resources to summon things. It makes your resource management pretty slow. So having the Card Trooper for that extra dig is always nice, and it can help us keep up with our opponent at times. Moving on, we do play a good amount of hand traps, I guess you could say. Starting off with 2 Effect Veiler. We have Veiler in here for our only effect negation in the deck. It's always nice to have spot negation, and there isn't really a way to stop Veiler, I guess you could say. So having the Veiler for that is always good. It's also a light monster, so having that just immediate light monster in our grave whenever we do activate Veiler really helps us, because there are times when you might start running out of lights, because that's the harder thing, I guess you could say, to get in grave. Because it's easier to get darks because of the Tour Guide engine, but Veiler kind of helps alleviate that in my sense, and having that emergency level 1 tuning is also always nice. Next up, for the final 2 hand traps, we have the 2 Gores, the Emissary of the Darkness. We don't run back row in this deck, so if our opponent somehow does clear our board, or we do start with a pretty slow hand, we usually will have a Gores somewhere in there. So having the Gores for that last minute ditch defense, I guess you could say, is really helpful, as it keeps a big monster on your board, and depending on how much damage you might have taken to summon the Gores, you can also have a pretty beefy token. Another benefit too with Gores is that you can actually sync up with him with either a Veiler or a Raiden, for example, to get your big synchros like a level 8 or your Star Eater. So Gores is pretty good in this deck. Finally, for the last couple monsters, we do run the 1 Blaster because this is the biggest Dragon Ruler and probably my favorite and personally my favorite. And he also synergizes well with one more card that I'm about to show you. Now, finally, for the last 2 monsters, speaking of Blaster synergizing with something, we have the 1 Flamvell Guard as well as a Labradorite Dragon. So I have these 2 vanillas in here primarily because we do run a very certain spell card that you guys probably can guess what it is by now. And I have the Flamvell and the Labradorite because, firstly, Flamvell is a level 1 tuner, so that's always helpful because it can get us into our synchro plays and whatnot. And it's also special summonable by Red Eyes. And another pretty cool thing that you can do is actually special summoning Flamvell off of a Red Eyes effect, and then basically getting a free Star Eater. Labradorite Dragon, on the other hand, is actually a pretty helpful card, and I actually kind of put it in on a whim because I was debating over putting this card over a Red Eyes Black Dragon. However, I like Labradorite Dragon better because although it doesn't have any offense by itself, it is a level 6, so it can help us get into our rank 6 plays with our Light Pulsar, as well as, speaking of Light Pulsar, it is a Light Pulsar target. So having the Labradorite for that is always helpful. as well it can help us get into our Leos and whatnot if we do have a level 4 or something like that. So that is it for our vanillas. Moving on to the whole 5 spells that we play. We start off with the one Dragon Shrine. This obviously goes with our vanilla monsters. And this is kind of where Labradorite Dragon actually kind of plays a big part, because there is a pretty cool thing that you can do with Dragon Shrine, because you can send a Labradorite Dragon with Dragon Shrine, and then you can pitch another Dragon type monster from your deck, and usually that will be Eclipse Wyvern. So, with this one card, you'll be able to essentially Foolish Burial both the Labradorite Dragon, which is something you actually don't want to draw into, and the Eclipse. And so then Eclipse will trigger, searching you either Dark Armed or Red Eyes. And then, because Labradorite is a dark monster, all you need is one Chaos monster that it will be immediately live with this one Dragon Shrine, because Eclipse is the light and Labradorite is a dark. So you kind of can see how that combo might work out. It'll essentially get you a free Eclipse search. So we do have the one Dragon Shrine just for that. Next off, we have the 2 Dark Hole. We can afford to nuke our board whenever we have to, because all it does essentially is fuel our grave and possibly also float our light pulses or our baby dragons into other stuff. So we have the 2 Dark Hole just for that board clear. Then we have the Charge of the Light Brigade to search out any of our light swords, I should say, and get us that Jumpstart Mill during our turn. And finally, for the last card we play in the main deck, we do have the one Soul Charge, because frankly we do mill a lot, we do fuel our grave a lot. So having the Soul Charge to just make some silly boards is always really helpful, as you can make some pretty darn game-breaking stuff with this card. So that is it for the 40 card main deck. Moving on to the extra deck, we start off with the guy himself. We have the one Dante, Traveler of the Burning Abyss. Now, I will get into it really quick about Dante. Dante is so good in this deck. He is probably the best thing you can go into on your first turn. Firstly, he is a card trooper, so he can obviously get you that 3-card mill first turn. But obviously, because you'll be making him with a Tour Guide and a Skarm, or a Tour Guide and another Tour Guide, probably, whenever you activate Dante's effect, you'll be detaching that dark monster immediately. Adding those adding the 3 cards that you're going to be milling with Dante's effect, it's already 4 cards in grave. And then if your opponent somehow kills Dante for whatever reason, Dante is a light monster, so that will immediately get you 1 dark guaranteed because of your Tour Guide detach and whatever material is attached to him, as well as the light monster in Dante himself. So Dante really helps you fuel your grave perfectly to get your big Chaos monsters out. So that's why I feel Dante is probably the best first turn card you can go into, and that's why I have him at 1. You don't need more than 1, because obviously you only have the 3 Tour Guide and the Skarm, so that's essentially 2 rank 3s. So you rarely will ever need the second Dante, as the second rank 3 that I'm about to show you is pretty important also. And that second rank 3 is this Levier, the Sea Dragon. Because you'll be banishing a lot of your monsters with your Chaos summons, you can have the Levier to easily get them back. A note I should say is that when you are banishing for your Chaos monsters, you should actually methodically think what you're banishing. Because you shouldn't just banish whatever you think you should banish. You should actually methodically think, if I were to banish this, will it be useful if I were to bring it back with Levier? Because that's exactly what Levier is for. A common thing that I like to do is personally always try and banish the Lightsworn monsters that I do mill, or if they're in the grave at all. Whenever I do my Chaos summons, I want to banish my Lightsworn monsters, because those are probably the best things that you can resurrect with Levier's effect, as either you can summon a Lila for backer removal, or you can summon a Raiden for that easy milling, as well as that level 4 tuning. So in my opinion, Levier is also a very powerful card in this deck, and he goes really well with Dante as the other rank 3. Next up, we have 2 rank 4s in the form of Evil Storm, Exciton Knight, and Castel. Just 2 pretty staple rank 4s. I really don't have to go over much with these guys. They're just pretty good. Finally, for the last XYZ we do run the one rank 6 Constellar Ptolemy M7. I will say that M7 is pretty quirky in the sense that what he does for the deck. And he just lets you go for weird games at times, because a common thing that I commonly see myself doing is, although he is a walking compulse, another benefit of having him is that he can actually bounce stuff from either player's grave back to their respective owner's hand. So a cool thing that you can actually do with M7 is possibly if you mill one of your Chaos monsters, like your Chaos Sorcerer or your BLS, you can actually make M7 bounce that BLS back to your hand from your own grave now, and essentially recycle the BLS, which is just nuts in my opinion. So I really think you should run an M7, because there really isn't any other rank 6 that in my opinion is justified to run, because your rank 6s are actually really, really good, because Light Pulsar is good by itself, and the only other level 6 is Chaos Sorcerer. and Labradorite, excuse me, and Labradorite dragon. So there's 3 different monsters that you can actually use for this guy. And all really have their own specific purpose by themselves. But whenever you do have to, M7 is always a nice option to have. Moving on to the Synchros, we start off with the 1 Armades. You can make this with like usually a level 1 tuner and a level 4, or you can do it with Plague Spreader and a level 3. So having the Armades Axis is always nice because he does a lot for he does a lot this format, because you can actually poke through a Necros player because they cannot Valk you when you attack with Armades. You can poke through your opponent's Shadow monsters because they don't get their flip effects, and etc, etc, etc. Having Armades all for this is really nice. Next up, for our 1 level 6, we now have the 1 Goyo Guardian. It's Goyo stealing our opponent's monsters and then syncing up or overlaying with them is always pretty darn good. Then we have the 1 level 7 Black Rose Dragon, because nuking the board is always nice. We have the 1 Scrap Dragon, and then we have the 1 Stardust Dragon. And finally, the 1 Colossal Fighter for our generic rank, or not, excuse me, not rank, level 8 Synchros. Scrap Dragon and Spark Dragon really are pretty self-explanatory. Scrap Dragon is good here for simple removal. Spark Dragon is here for a last-minute defense, I guess you could say, and also pairs really well with Scrap Dragon. And Colossal Fighter I have in here because I kind of was missing some generic level 8 to make that I could just stick people with. Because I don't want to make Scrap Dragon, I guess you could say, without any specific reason. I don't want to just make it to stick people with. So I have Colossal Fighter in here, essentially as just that easy level 8 stick to just make whenever I just want to do damage. Also, it's also a benefit that it's pretty hard to get rid of Colossal Fighter himself also, because he can just keep resubbing himself. So, these are the generic level 8 Synchros. Moving on to the more specialized level 8 Synchros, we do have the 1 Beals and the 1 Void Ogre Dragon. Beals, obviously, because Beals is Beals. Beals is great. It's really hard to get around if you have to rely on destruction, so Beals for that is phenomenal. He's also a huge stick, so he can really start putting in the damage for you. And Void Ogre Dragon is here, obviously, because he is our Spelling Trap Negator. Because the way Chaos Dragons really do play it is that they really neg themselves with resources at times because of Light Pulser's effect and having to special summon all that jazz. So if you ever do make Void Ogre, he usually will be live, so he can have that extra assurance whenever you do want to make your big damage pushes. And then finally, for the last 2 Synchros, we have our big boss Synchros. We have our 1 Star Eater and our 1 Leo. These obviously don't really need much of an explanation. They're just both extremely powerful Synchros to have access to. And then, of course, you have to have the obligatory Gorz token. Alright, so that is it for my revised Chaos Dragon deck profile. Please let me know what you guys think of this new and updated list down in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed, and as always, this is QRim from the Trinity of Lift, and I'll see you guys later. Peace.